And here we go. Welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. I'm here with Sean Breen. I'm here with Dan Crow. I remember the second name.
We're going to do that again.
No, we're not doing it again. We're still going.
Fucking shite.
That's how you introduce your people, right?
Well,
I have to thank Dan for coming along, you know what I mean? Because I've always wanted to do a threesome with my brother. So, thanks for obliging, Dan.
Yeah,
you know?
It's not going back, is
Didn't
it?
really take much convincing either.
No, I was pushing for it.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go?
I was pushing.
Are you ready? It's Thursday. I know we said Friday, but are you good to go yet? Or it's like, I'm ready to go.
We're pushing this system to its absolute limit now. I'm hoping you're in the shot. Everyone seems to be in the shot. 3 microphones. We had to borrow a chair off one of my mates. I was actually ringing Dan.
Yeah.
Can you bring a chair?
Yeah. On the bus?
On the bus?
Don't think so.
Yeah, like we're absolute like minimalists.
Yeah.
So we've just reduced the house down to 2 chairs and like a tiny table. Really.
Honestly, just behind me, there's actually no wall. There's nothing even there. This is cardboard.
You gotta
Pure, and there's just white noise playing all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
to
that's
make
it.
sure we're
It's not even a house.
optimize your
It's not even a house.
workspace.
It's just
like,
two
come
sheets
on.
over.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, good to be here.
Dan's saying, what is he doing here? Is he trying to take the lead or something? This is Basil Breen. No, listen. Alright, Dan, what do you want to get into?
The chatterbox, huh?
No, we were actually just talking comedy.
We're
Comedy.
talking about TV shows.
Comedy.
We're talking about how much Dan is different than us, really.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't like South Park, man. I'm
No.
outing you here
Nope.
in front of all the great people.
Cannot stand South Park.
What is it?
I just don't. It's just nonsense.
What is nonsense about it?
I can't ever like any of the characters. None of them. I don't like the voices. I don't like the animation. I don't like anything about
there has to be
South
something
Park.
you like about it. That's just being stubborn.
He did. He said he liked one episode.
I liked one part of one episode.
Oh, one
which is
part.
one part
The
of one
story's
episode.
so good, man. The way they used to wrap things up. I think they're really good at showing all the sides of an argument. That's what I think they do really well. If you pay attention, even the cigarette makers, you know, they did an episode on this lad who was real anti-smoke, and he was trying to, you know, basically bring down the tobacco industry, and he was eating all these burgers. He was real overweight himself, and then it showed inside the tobacco factory. And it's just like, had all this with a highly daddy daddy da 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 highly daddy day. They're all dancing around, and it tried to show, you know, there's people working at these places as well, and they just have jobs. And then there's some people that just want to have a cigarette after work, you know, and that's it, done for the week. So it's not all super negative. I'm not saying I'm not pro cigarettes either, but I'm just saying, without that full rounded view on things, you can't really see the world properly, and that's what South Park brought to me.
Yeah, I never paid that much attention. And now I feel like it's just too late.
The episode,
Pass you by, like.
It's too late.
they're back on top of the game, if anything.
Too late.
No Rick and Morty either. That's really
Never
surprising.
watched Rick and Morty. And
You
I
haven't given it a
wouldn't.
chance, have you?
No, but I never have. It's not like there's no reason why I wouldn't. I just haven't watched it.
Evil Morty up there representing in the corner.
Yeah, with his big
Thanks to
eyes.
Gaffney. You know, I appreciate all my real friends giving me knickknacks, you know.
And the
Dan
chair.
hasn't brought anything. Actually, he did. He brought his criticism. Because now we don't have the pink furry wall anymore.
That is not a fucking nice thing to bring to You brought your criticism.
I know.
And
Sorry.
you fucking ruined my
I know.
set.
I'm going with that. I love that. But really, he brought his constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And, you know, I adjusted. I was sick. I got sick of the pink. I couldn't hear. All I heard, oh, you need to get rid of that pink. You need to stop fucking annoying
He was
people with
right.
that pink. I know.
Well, I think he was right.
Then Sean backed it up as well.
It was
So why
fun.
don't you just take it? Huh? Why don't you just take the whole fucking podcast?
Oh, we're
It's
planning
funny you
on.
should say that. Because I wanted to know. I'll kick us off. We're 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
you-
good guess.
What? Are we?
4:30. Anyway.
That's-
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to know how you felt about your own podcast. I tell you why. Because I thought that the idea of 2 brothers sitting down to have a conversation for an hour and a half, I was like, well, this would be quite interesting to see how they go. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim Ferriss talked about trying trying to set up a podcast with like a parent before, you know, that time comes, just to have that intimate one-to-one session. I know that sounds a bit morbid, but I think it's important for everyone to do.
As someone who's lost both parents and lost the opportunity.
Yeah,
to
we
do
just
that.
got real here.
Yeah. I
laughed at that
I
as
literally
well.
tell everybody that to do an interview with your parents will probably be like something that will stay with you forever, and you can get things out on the table that you couldn't really in a normal conversation. Questions become a lot more accepted. You know what I mean? You can drill down on stuff because it's the format. So I really recommend it to anyone out
And
there.
like, we have so many questions for our dad. For our father, like, I mean,
who aren't in heaven. Sorry.
part two. It's like,
He made that. I always rock that show.
and it's only after the fact that you realise, fuck, I wish I had asked him that. Like, so that was a bit of a segue, but I mean, it was
so
great.
I wanted to interview him before I died.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I didn't really think much about it. It was just a good time. I mean, it didn't really feel.
Really? I tell you, I love my brother very dearly, but the idea of sitting down, like, look, I can talk to him, but when if it came to, and I'm probably not on my own here, maybe I am, but when it comes to an actual mic is on, we're going to sit here for an hour and a half, we're going to talk about whatever we're talking about, I kind of go, that has to be a daunting thing. Genuinely. But you see, do you know why I thought you two might work? Is because you, on the surface at least, you seem like intellectual fellas. On the surface. Right? And I thought to myself, I wonder will it go, because, and I wrote a comment on the bottom of it that said you covered everything from bloody psychology to, you know, family to ideas to, like, you went through the whole thing. And I thought that's actually the type of podcast I expected. Not like after 10 minutes going, all right, so will we call it? You know, but you found it a worthwhile.
I mean, we're always kind of ranting at each other anyway. New ideas, new musings on things. But the thing about me and Sean is just we're super close. It's like, it's different than even just brothers. It's like something else. You know what I mean?
It's hard to put a term on it.
Yeah, so it's very intimate. You know what I mean? We know each other, and there's kind of no worry with each other or anything. You know what I mean? So the conversation, it was just we always kind of thought, we should definitely do a podcast. You know what I mean? Definitely something we should do even more of, because we're always trying to better ourselves as well. And you know, we have to say sometimes that I think you should do this and I think you should do that, like, which is great. And I'm not good in the moment, like with the pink wall. I mean, I'm just like, fuck this lad, you know. No, that's really. But if it was something more, imagine you were like, I don't like the direction your music's taken, and here's why. At first, it's like, that hurts a bit.
Yeah, the ego.
I put so much time
takes
to
a
that.
slap.
But then I go
Proclamation was brilliant, by the way.
back. Thank you very much.
It actually was genuinely brilliant song.
Nice demo, but that would hurt. But if anything Sean says to me, or anything that I respect, if you said something, like when you said something, I did think about it. You know what I mean? I have to think about these things, but it's hard for me in the moment sometimes to think about it. I have to kind of, you know, it can be very abrasive when it first comes to me, and then I have to go back, go to my bed, not sleep for a bit. The pink wall. I need the pink wall.
The man's a maniac.
But go back to the podcast with me and Sean. I thought it was really good. If we actually had it done, we tried to do it before we actually ended up doing it that on the same day. Some lad was coming over to buy my GoPro, and we ended up doing it later. But if we had it done when we planned to do it, I don't think it would have went well, because there was a bit of tension in the house, I think, wasn't there? Because
yeah, you were trying to Gary V that lad out of it. Rip his fucking face off.
No, no. The tension came from I was planning this podcast and I was trying to get it going, and I think, you know, I wasn't happening when it was supposed to happen, and then this happened, and then that pushed the tension even further. It's like, let's just do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which it wasn't going to be a good place, I think, for the podcast to be born out of. You know what I mean? So context is very important. I think this podcast is going so well already, as you can see, because we were well lubricated before we started the threesome. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But I thought it went well.
Yeah, like, it was it was probably the second time that like I've been on a podcast. I did one with a girl virtually.
Right.
That sounds a bit fucked up, but so
we're all doing it that way.
It was. I was uncomfortable at the start. Like there was just this weird nervousness that there's a camera on and that everyone you know may hear this, and you know it's like everyone's eyes are on you right now, and it feels a bit like that.
Stop talking
at the moment. But I think if you can try and just be open and honest with everything that you say, then you've nothing really to worry about because you can stand by it. You know, if you've got good intentions, which you know I think we both have good intentions, then it's like I won't have any concerns about what gets said because at the end of the day I can always stand by it, and that's it really.
Yeah, the honesty thing though is an interesting one. Because you say that if you're honest, then you've nothing to worry about. And I actually go, that feels like the very opposite nowadays. Actually, if you're very honest, you could have a lot more to worry about.
I know.
You know, because I've been thinking about this a lot, especially in the last few days, about just honesty in general with people. Because it feels like it's not allowed so much. You're not allowed to be honest.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying with the like cancel culture and things like that, but I'm talking about like your integrity as a human, like rather than worrying about if you say something out of place, it gets interpreted in the wrong way. But I think it all comes back to intent.
You have to hope, yeah, if you put your best foot forward, that it'll be visible in the time span that the podcast goes on for. But there is kind of it's when you start making some mistakes with language and other things that you start getting inside your own head. If you get inside your own head, you start thinking about it. Like I'm inside my own head right now. I think I'm going to exit my head, center left, and actually I don't know. I like it. Maybe I'll put it back on. It feels a bit weird without it now.
Go on, keep going with your thoughts.
What was I saying?
We're talking.
You get inside your own head.
Talking about Dan Crow getting cancelled.
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming.
Right, let's just jump onto that point instead of what I was going to go on. When I said the word, now I didn't mean to say it, I didn't know it was a derogatory term, but the word proddy, when I was talking about the church,
You pulled
and
it
when
up.
he said that, my heart sunk.
Right.
And because I just thought it was always such a part of our vernacular when we're talking about that church in school. Oh yeah, go up to that church. I don't even want to say it anymore now because I didn't realise that it was Protestant, the Protestant church, and it was just that was always the shorthand for it when we were describing it. And when you said it to me, I was like, oh no. And then in that moment, I just felt awful that I'd made a social faux pas or faux pas, whatever.
Go on, sorry, finish your thought. I want
That's
to come
it.
back to
You're
it.
finished.
Do you ever hear of do you ever hear? It's a song by the Rolling Stones, Stray Cat Blues, right? You never heard this great song, but in it he says, "If you're 15 years old, I don't want your ID," right? And that one you're going, can you say that? At the time, I don't know how acceptable that was at the time. But in live shows now and in the last few years, they're not allowed to say that. And I got to thinking about Kevin Hart. You know how anything that you've said at any period in your life online can be brought back to you. I started thinking to myself, what is it that we're saying now? Not us, but everyone. What is an acceptable part of what we talk about in terms of language that 30 years from now could be held against you? What are you saying?
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah? So you're talking away, no problem. It's acceptable where you can't call people proddies and stuff like that because that's obviously wrong. But what is it that you're saying now that in 30 years someone could come back to you and go, so that was your feeling at the time, was it?
Yeah, 30 years.
God, you're a horrendous human being.
Yeah.
And I think about that and I go, what that makes me do is make sure a little bit more that what I say, going to your honesty, I mean it more. Because you can stand up for it. If you're asked about it, you can stand on your own 2 feet and you go, here's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you've nothing to worry about.
and then you have nothing to worry about.
But that's what I mean. You need to have, before you attack sort of these big issues that are out there that are taboo, that you might feel the total opposite against. I think you really have to have your points really thought out, and you have to think about it really for both sides. You know, there's probably there's not stuff that I feel super strongly about that I'd want to get into. I think the thing that I got into before was the Joe Rogan controversy. But I felt I needed to say something about this. Needed to just when it was getting cancelled and stuff there recently.
Yeah, they brought up clips of him saying the N-word.
Oh yeah. They brought up all that stuff, and then there was just I wasn't like standing by him for that, but I was standing by him as a person, as I'd listened to him for hours, and the way the media was trying to frame him as just a MMA commentator and trying to denigrate his positions and opinions with these frivolous, like one of the things he said was he played a conspiracy nut in this TV show. That was like his bio in this thing by The Guardian. And it's just like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? You're trying to frame this in a way that's trying to belittle them. And I really, that struck a chord with me, you know what I mean? Obviously I don't agree with the reasons why people were in uproar. I can understand why they were in uproar, but I wasn't happy with how the takedown was trying to take place in a way, you know what I mean? But there's a definite worry that like we could say something that we don't even know is potentially dangerous.
But I think that's why you have to make people aware. And that's going to happen right here and now. Right? We're changing society with this. But people are in a hurry. I think about this a lot. That's probably why it's so like ready to come out of my mouth. But people are so ready to push a line back of what you can do, what you can say. They're so ready to push that line back, and they're like, you can't say that, you can't do this, you can't. And you go, lads, once you push that line back, you can't bring it forward again. You know what I mean? Once you start taking away language, once you start taking away the freedom of expression or the freedom of language that people can use, once you take that away and people start feeling safer without it, you can't ever come to a point where we go, can we relax that again? Can we start allowing that language again? You go, no, because now you've conditioned a whole culture to feeling comfortable without it, you know? And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I need to make people aware of that a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. Jordan Peterson talks about things getting to terrible places one tiny step at a time. So what you're talking about as well, it's like incremental steps where it's like we'll push it, and then as soon as you start to fight back, we'll ease off, and then we'll just push you a little bit more, and then we'll ease off, and then eventually you're so far gone that you don't even recognize where you are.
100%. And isn't that how so much of what's around you seems to work? It's just steps at a time, at a time, you know. But I say this a lot, but do you know, I was watching last night, and it's kind of
sober.
You don't want to bring yeah. I was watching that Savile documentary.
Oh shit!
Have you seen it?
It popped up.
That's someone I respect.
Yeah.
No, don't put that.
Misunderstood.
2002.
Yeah, but I watched that, right? And the one thing I thought of was, well, one, how the hell he got away with that, right? And you have to have the right people covering for you. But once social media came out and people had more of a voice and opinions changed, all of a sudden he's nowhere to hide anymore. You know, he gets asked everywhere he's going because people are able to voice things online. And I went, in that point of view, social media is great, internet is great, but in other ways it's accelerating these ideas. Someone comes out with an idea and all of a sudden it's picked up and people just run with it until I think they kind of lose their own way. They kind of lose what they initially started out to do, you know. So there's no more of this, and it goes to what you were saying about you need to understand both sides of arguments and things. People start down the road of supporting a cause, and then it becomes information, information to the point that people are going, hang on, what were we talking about there a minute ago? Because they forgot the broader view. They just sort of walked into this thing, and now, you know.
But a big thing that I think, Jordan Peterson talked about this, and it came from Orwell.
2 years of Peterson finance as well.
Oh, massive Peterson. He's shaped my ideas more than literally anybody. But literally, I nearly have to say Jordan Peterson says before most things, but I just omit that part for brevity. But he talks about how, you know, let's say communism, even if you go back far enough, or not even that far actually, it's still a popular enough idea now. You might think that you're doing it for the betterment of society. You have all these moral virtues that you're aspiring to achieve or whatever, but really it comes down to you're resentful at the current power structure and your position in life, and you want to topple the current power, and you want to be, because what will happen, let's say, is certain people with certain agendas and motivations, they make a change. So imagine I'm doing a talk about, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, honestly, I honestly can't, but let's say you start, let's say, I actually seen something, right, where they were talking about how fitness is a far right movement, and that this is real, man, and they're going at fitness now, and that they're saying that if you're working out too much, anyway, this person was going off one. But imagine you were espousing this. You were like, we need to cut down on fitness because it's bringing all these bad ideas, like people that are fit, like they're going out and like they're white supremacists, all this stuff. Then you topple it. Then you're part of the movement, and you're actually a figurehead in that movement. So now your position in the hierarchy that you've constructed in your own head, really, because that's all where it exists, you are now at a higher part of that hierarchy. Because we're all, well, I think we're very social, and we're always trying to fit ourselves in certain hierarchies. In school, we had particular hierarchies. I was trying to be the funny person. I was trying to sit on top of the funny hierarchy, but without consciously thinking about it. You know what I mean? And we had to be very careful that we're not deluding ourselves into thinking that I'm doing this for pure, the reasons that I'm telling myself, because we can delude ourselves a bit. You know what I mean? Like even the music. If I just say it's all just about the art, it's all about the purity of that. And then I'm going out busking and I'm hoping to get attention. I'm hoping people are going to look at me. Then I'm just like, oh no, it's all about the art. It's all about it's also about, like, I want to be validated by people for my music as well. That's actually part of it. It doesn't sound as good, but that's the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't know. Do you get that at all? Do you with your paddy jobs and
like what separating
the validation? Do you want any validation? Because yours is all over. Like you're on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and everything. I don't know, is there sort of a validation thing for you?
Yeah, like normally, say, using social media before I ever launched the Paddy Enterprise, I never really posted anything ever.
Paddy Enterprise?
Yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Is it? Yeah.
From here on out. Yeah, the Paddy Wagon. It goes on. And I had, I had no time for social media, and it's only a mechanism to get, help out to people, to get my business out to people. So at the start, you're not thinking about, people are gonna like me, or people are gonna validate me. It's more about just the mission of, I'm gonna try and help as many people as I can. But then, you do start to get the notifications, and they start pouring in, and you get people stroking you a bit, and you can't help it. Like, you do get sucked into it. And it's one thing that I've actually really struggled with is and I know you've talked about it as well, checking notifications constantly after you post.
Who doesn't?
After you create.
Who doesn't?
This lad though, it's insane. One of his videos got over 2 million views recently. his followers on Instagram have gone from 1,000 to 14,000 in the space of how long?
A couple of days.
How?
Just
the content
the algorithm.
is amazing.
But it's
So
like
what
you
was
could.
the video? What was the video?
The video, it was just to help people with translating their experience, training people in at work, and phrasing it on your CV. And yeah, it took off on both TikTok and Instagram. But you could literally just, and with that video in particular, because it went viral, you refresh it and you've just got like a list of followers, and then you refresh it like a second later, you get a list of followers, and you're just like, and you could literally play that game all day, but it's not good at all for you. And it actually, I found it to just suck the energy out of you.
Yes, it
your
does.
mental energy.
Yes, it does.
You're fucking drained after doing nothing but just pulling the lever of, and it's not even like it's real, but it's not real.
Hit, isn't it?
Yeah,
Dopamine
that's
hit.
it. And you just drain your brain.
Yeah.
But the scale is just insane, though. You know what I mean? Versus the stuff that I would deal with.
But it's all the same. It's
it's the same mechanism.
yeah, it's the same feeling. Like I got it when I just started off, when I was just getting 2 and 3 followers a day.
Okay, but how many? I saw when I was looking through your channel on YouTube earlier, your videos in the last day or two, it's like 6 views, 31 views, and then there was like one video you posted like 4 days ago. It's like 89 views, 2,212 views, right? And that one was it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I went, yes, of course, everyone wants to get a little bit of that. Even me myself, I'm like, okay, I'll give that one a look. That'll be 2,213. But it's mad how certain things work. But how many pieces of content have you put up on your YouTube page?
Yeah, so you
have about 90 or something.
Yeah, YouTube. I upload to YouTube Shorts because you make the video on TikTok and then you repurpose it on Reels and YouTube.
Right. And
YouTube, they haven't figured it out yet, like fully. It seems it's like
they haven't, or you?
I think it's a bit of both, but
right.
YouTube, like every platform I posted to, the videos have taken off bar the YouTube Shorts, and it was in beta only up until recently. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. I don't really use that as a mechanism to view how good the video is or not. I'd focus on TikTok and Reels more so than Shorts. But I upload every video to TikTok, Reels and Shorts. So the same amount of videos that have been on TikTok have been on Shorts.
So, but you have like 400 and something videos up there. 400 and something.
Yeah, probably like
400 and something. Versus, so at some point, I'm not saying 400 videos. Well, maybe it does. 400 videos. I go, if you can get 2 million views, I go, well, it's about time. You're posting 400 pieces of content. You want to start showing. I think I'd seen earlier on, you've like 90 up. You got a whopping 22 subscribers. Not that means fuck all. But they don't always relate. But when it's exhausting, equally exhausting, when you have no followers. You post something up, and you're going, has someone even liked it?
I've been there,
Not like you. We can't all be big bollocks over here. Like it's
at the start, the very same process. No one's liking your shit.
Yeah.
But see, Sean shows up every day, and he's been just producing content and trying to think of how to do it, and then reactive to what's coming in. You know what I mean? And he's developed. His tool has gotten sharper, and it's only a matter of time. If you show up every day and you're doing this every day, and TikTok is the perfect vehicle for the kind of information you're putting out. The character, Paddy Jobsman, it's like a 2022 masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Not even what you touched on is more important. Being consistent. I think I don't know what is it called, the bell curve. I don't know, but it's basically in the shape of a hockey stick, where it's just like you see the curve and you're not making any progress for months and months and months. And then I've seen it with TikTok. I'm now seeing it with Instagram, where it's just spiking, and it's just like, but you had to put in all the reps in order to get there in the first place. So
You see, for me, I don't think I could spend that much time checking the analytics of something. I just couldn't do it. And as much as I feel like it will matter, I couldn't.
What do you mean checking the analytics?
Well, you're talking about the hockey stick.
Oh no, I'm not checking any analytics.
It's just clear.
Just on visits.
Just on the follower count.
Right. Okay.
It's like I was on 2,000 followers for 6 months, from like month 1 to month 7, 2,000 followers, and then in 4 days, 15,000 followers. So it's like I'm not checking any analytics.
Do you know? No, I thought no, because you know how you can start getting into the amount of time paid to a certain video, the amount of you can start to, because I had done that.
Yeah, it's not. And
you just get to a point where I can't actually do that anymore.
No.
Because any progress that you're making is so slow, it's not worth your time. So you just sort of leave it. But have you heard of I'm sure you have, the YouTuber Mr. Beast?
Yeah.
You heard of him?
Yeah.
And
the god of YouTube.
I mean, I only started watching him after the Joe Rogan thing. I knew of him beforehand, but he was getting like 100,000 subscribers a day.
Yeah.
What?
Insane.
A day.
Yeah.
But what's he doing? He's taking the money that he's getting from his channel, he's putting it all back into his videos.
But if you heard him even speaking about the whole process of creating viral content, what they were doing, they had a little syndicate and they were analysing YouTube. They were analysing what videos were doing well, what thumbnails, what titles, the beat of the video, which I found very interesting. The way he described it made it feel like it's, the constant, making sure there's a bit of, it's not
constant
just,
keeping the
like this
attention.
This isn't TikTok. This isn't like made for like, quick, fast, like, oh yeah, look at this angle. But that's what does well as content. You know what I mean? Edited, kind of quick. You know yourself.
Yeah, it keeps the attention of the user.
If you're trying to optimize your content as best you can, he has sussed that out to the like 10th, 9th, a millionth degree, and now he is reaping the rewards of being able to do that. You know what I mean?
But it's sorry, go on.
But what I was going to say is everything. Like that's one way to measure success, right? It's like followers and all this kind of stuff, which I was doing that before. I was making sure I was trying to post every day and hoping that something was going to hit. But I think I had to realise that it wasn't good for me, because my motivations weren't good for me doing that, for the pursuits that I'm doing, which was music. And now this podcast. I'm really enjoying this podcast, and I love listening back to it and being like, look at that, we did a good job there. That was good, actually. Oh, what was I doing there?
Yeah.
Why did I say that?
Here.
So this is
that was weird.
That's one aspect. So and then I really want to start interviewing people. Like I was looking at old teachers that I had a run at. Miss O'Hanlon, and obviously she's not listening, but she was my yearhead, and she tried to kind of keep me from being the little messer that I was. And it'd be just so interesting for me to be able to go back to that moment and talk, because she was an adult, the psychology of dealing with a child and trying to basically, stop. Because I was anyway, there's lots of people. My old taekwondo instructor Terry Donnelly, who's probably a 7th or 8th dan now in taekwondo, I'd love to interview him. He would be an absolute well of knowledge. Killian McNulty, he might be watching actually. He said he will, and he'd be so good, man. Because I've some good, interesting stories. I've lots of baggage with loads of people. Not baggage with Killian, because I've already met.
Lucky you, Killian, because it sounds like he's got
Killian's
a hit list.
Very good man.
Sounds like he's got a hit list over there.
Killian, I'll save this for the podcast. Oh yeah, won't spill all the beans. Yeah, but now that's kind of driving me. Now I'm thinking, what questions could I ask these people? How could I formulate that? So that's becoming sort of the motivation now. And then with the music, like the fact there's people actually listen to my music on a kind of daily basis. If you like my Spotify analytics, there's like someone listened to Proclamation like on repeat. You know what I mean? It was like 2 on repeat. It was like 30 times or something. And I was like, what is going on? That is insane.
I'd be a star, son.
But somebody, it's just so surreal, because when I find a song that I like and I listen to it and play it over and over again, and it hits me the way it hits me, and the fact that I'm able to produce that moment for somebody, it's so powerful. And then that's more motivating. I'm like, how am I going to do this even more? How am I going to record more? How am I going to write more? And that's pushing me. But I used to be, I need to be posting at a certain frequency. Now I don't care when I'm posting. Now when it happens, it happens. Like we were at the stag recently, so I haven't posted anything in ages, which is a bit of a break. But I'm not concerned about, like, everything will come. You know what I mean? As in, any success will materialize, just because I'm not going to stop doing these things. You know what I mean? I don't have an end sort of in sight. I'm just going to keep developing my skills in all these different domains because I'm enjoying them, and it's probably going to be like that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not getting off the train. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah. And then the podcast as well. It's a great reason to just get to talk to people that you've always wanted to talk to. It's a great excuse.
Exactly. And it helps formulate my own ideas and articulate them and hopefully give value to people. You know, yourself, I don't know how many times I've tried to espouse the reasons why I do this. I do this for you. I do this for you, sitting on your couch with your Doritos.
He does.
And
Yeah, he told us privately that.
every week.
But I also do it for me.
Yeah.
Because I love the attention.
The validation.
No, but it is. That's one of those things as well. You know who I'd love to sit and talk to is Tommy Tiernan. The number one on planet Earth, I think, as a talk show host. And number two is Graham Norton. The two Irish
Yeah,
lads.
Graham's quality.
The two Irish lads. But something about Tommy Tiernan, I'd watch him. I didn't do it this time now, but I'd watch him before I do an episode of a podcast.
Oh, yeah?
I would, because he kind of reminds you what to bring. And he almost he reminds you as well, like in terms of bringing your attention, or in terms of bringing your different ideas. You don't need to be bet to one topic. You can go off on one. I watch and I go, perfect. He's amazing. I don't know, do you ever watch Tommy? No?
I've listened to a few of the podcasts.
I've more listened to his podcast than Nectar and The Reader.
But yeah, no, I've seen a few where he does, he doesn't know the guests beforehand and he's figuring it out on the spot. World class.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And every time I watch him and I go, just imagine the confidence you need to do that in the first place. You need to be very comfortable that your breadth of knowledge is very wide. So someone comes on, they go, I'm a neurosurgeon. Okay, so let's get into that conversation. But I look at him and I go, but how does he do it? Or how does he do it even? You have to get to like a nugget question. So we say straight off. So what's a neurosurgeon? Okay, and what's got you to sitting right here in front of me? And you start off really small and you grow out from that initial. And I watch him before I do an episode of this because it reminds me, if there's anything you don't understand, start small and build out.
Yeah.
You know?
And the curiosity will kind of pull you in a way.
Well, yeah, hopefully as you learn.
Slowly,
more,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you that's why I want to talk to you, because
It's just me and Dan now.
right. Like, it's you both interest me, but your
It's the followers. It's everything, Sean. You're just killing it. And this guy fucking sucks. Look at him with his
We got the sound engineer over there. We got
Young Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm just the Jamie, you know what I mean?
That's it, yeah. How are we for sound? Right, we'll go away now and talk to you at the end of the episode. But
Just fall back.
do you know
dodgy.
the big thing when you talk about interviews, right? You talk about interviews, make them conversational. Your approach is not to be overawed. That's how I feel. Is to be not overawed by an interview. And you said to be very comfortable going into an interview, you have to feel like, if I don't get it, it's fine. Where does that come from? Where does that feeling of, if you don't get it, it's fine, come from? The broad.
How do you create it? Like,
well, because you have to get it from somewhere. You have to, because most people go into an interview, it's sweaty palms and I need this interview. Why have you got the mentality of be bigger than the situation? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so it's like trying to break down where the fear comes from. Where does it originate? Why are you like sweating? Why are you nervous? It's like the fear comes because you you perceive that there's going to be a consequence. So whenever there's a consequence, you're going to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no consequence, the fear can just kind of melt away. That's what I found.
Not getting a job is a
Well,
Yeah,
not getting a
it's fair.
job, it depends on what way you frame it. You can frame anything however you actually want to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no objective reality, especially for these kind of abstract things. The only kind of real reality is it's like I'm hungry, I need to go toilet. These are things that the thoughts that come out of them things. You need to actually probably, that's you're gonna see a little web patch coming out here. But you can choose to say it. Just you have to notice yourself. What version of you is the best version of you? Is it the neediness? Neediness is. I actually learned this when I was getting into Tinder and texting girls, and I actually started looking into this and trying to figure out the whole domain. And I realized I was making loads of mistakes with how needy I was, because it was the same with the job interview stuff. I was framing it as if, oh, please like me, I hope they want me, this. But you need to actually say, it doesn't matter if this doesn't work out. I'll go on to the next one, and we'll keep going. Like, I don't care if this person takes me back.
But that broader perspective has to come from somewhere. That's my point. People don't just wake up every day with well, for lack of a better word, it's perspective. You seem to have, like, the both of yous have like a terrific perspective of not getting too attached, from what I see in here, not getting too attached to things that yeah, exactly. So why? Well, we'll say Jordan Peterson. You listen to people like that. You listen to Alan Watts. I think
Alan Watts is big.
Alan Watts.
Yeah.
Do you listen to all these people and take that on board? Is that where your diet comes from?
Yeah, it's probably just a combination of everything. There's one guy in particular where I've got a lot of knowledge from. I don't know if Naval Ravikant. He has, so his
big fan.
His life coach, say, I don't know what the descriptor would be, is this guy called Kapil Gupta, and that's where I learned a lot of, the idea that anything related to fear comes back to a consequence. So if you can forget about the consequence, then the fear disappears. He's one guy that's really influenced the way I think about it, and then coming back to applying that to interviews, it's like you got yourself into one already. It's very, very likely that if you've done it once, you can do it again. So it's like, that's the mentality, an abundance mindset. And look, it's not something that you can just tell yourself to do and it happens. It's like you can only get there through just what I can only say what's worked for me, but it's like trying to constantly revisit like the source of where your fear comes from, to really, really understand it. And only when you have like a really in-depth understanding of the fear, then it loses its power, is what I found.
I have the perfect example is when I first started to look for my first developer job. I was looking to kind of get into the industry, and I didn't have any kind of experience, and I had all these interviews lined up, but my mentality was, I just need to get in. If I get in and just get started, it's going to start working out. I just need to get in. And what do you think? That was coming across in interviews. I was like coming blah, 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 like nervously talking. Even when I was in London doing interviews, and I still didn't feel. I had a massive lack of confidence and a lack of vision in what was possible. You know what I mean? Because I hadn't done the thing yet, and I was just like, if I only get in. But then, after a few years, I had the experience. Especially when I was in London, I started applying for jobs. I was so loose. I didn't actually leave the job. I was gonna leave because of this one lad in particular. Just thought he was God. But after that, when I was applying I was applying for all these jobs, and I felt so confident, and I realised that it's because they need me now, and I don't need them. So I only realised this afterwards, and now I can apply that mentality, no matter what. Even if I was like on the brink of death, I need to always say, I
a
don't
lovely
need
scenario.
this job. I don't need this job. Because there's a possibility that you won't get it. And when people tell me that they're applying for jobs and that they have stuff lined up and they're really excited about it, I just say, make sure you keep applying. Make sure you don't put all your eggs in that one basket.
Yeah, that's
not
that's
the game.
line.
If you're playing that game, you're going to end up getting your heart broke 100%. And especially when you tell people that you have this great opportunity and then it doesn't come true, because there's a million reasons why it doesn't come true.
Yeah.
And you're not in control of any of them, really. You know what I mean? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's where you have to be. And that's the same with everything, really.
Yeah.
You want to avoid unhappiness in relationships, in jobs, in waiting for a delivery. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be here an hour ago, and it's 2 hours, and I'm starving. You know what I mean? If your unhappiness comes from wanting that thing, I'll try to bring in another. You know what I mean? I'm gonna look back at that and say, "Why'd you say that? Let Dan
Fucking
speak,
hell,
would you?
man.
Would you not just let Dan take the reins?"
No,
Please.
I think for me, because I think for me, I love the topic. You see, I think for me, one of the motivating factors would be myths. That's what we've created over time. It's myths, isn't it? Someone says something, enough time passes, and that thing becomes concrete. You know, and I think about that a lot when you think of the societal pressures that you have to, even the expectations that you have to live up to. I always think back to, that was one guy who said that, and people just bought into that idea, and then enough time passed where, like, think of it this way. I said to you, from now on, you're only allowed to wear green clothes, right? From now on, all day, and then people around me are like, "What are you talking about?" But then you get one or two people who buy into the idea, and then you build some ideas around that idea why it has to stay, and then 50 years or 100 years later, a few generations later, that's now a concrete part of your society or of your world. And that's, for me, that's why I was asking you, where do you get your perspective from? For me, I think back and I go, how much of this is just absolute nonsense? How much of this is just absolute crap? You know, and why do I have to do any of what you expect me to? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What kind of? Do you have any examples?
Everything.
Just everything.
Anything.
Why do
you
we
know,
have to
you
why
so
do we have to
you
wear clothes
no
on the
no
podcast?
no like or anywhere else. Like why do you need to get married? Why do you need to have a house? Why do you need to have a good job?
Yeah, like none of it's real.
None of it, like it's
real.
all just
Fictional.
That's the expectation. I was out talking to a guy the other day, right? And you know, when people, if you don't follow the expectations, people go, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?"
Yeah.
Right? But I was out talking to a guy the other day, and he's a few years older than me, and I hadn't seen him for a while. I said, "How are you doing?" "Oh, grand, yeah. I was away in China, just come back." "What are you doing with yourself now?" "Do you know what? I'm training to be a wrestler." What?
Yeah.
I'm training to be a wrestler. I was like, man, that's absolutely brilliant. Yes, fair play to you.
You stepped out.
Yeah. He was like, I went and I got the job that I was supposed to get during coronavirus. Then they were letting people go and I was first out the door. And he went, "Well, do you know what? Fucking, I'm going to go and be a wrestler." And I was like, I absolutely love that whole
That's
idea.
unreal.
But that, for me, that would be where I try and keep a broader perspective.
Yeah.
It's all crap.
Oh yeah.
It's all nonsense.
Any field that you have to do something or have to do anything, everything's nonsense. Actually, if like it really is. You know, it's not even.
I try and treat everything like a game. Like, be aware.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Yeah.
Be aware that you are playing a game, but it's not real. So you can, and the thing is, you can have fun playing the game, and then when it's over, you can just put it away, put it in the box, and it doesn't have to affect who you are or what you are or what you believe about yourself, because you know at the end of the day, it's just a little game.
Covering what? Are you talking about day-to-day things? Are you talking about...
Like you said, pretty much everything. Like, one example that comes to mind is like the LinkedIn game. I don't know if you've ever been on LinkedIn.
Yes.
yeah, you probably never want to go back on it again. But everyone is playing a game on LinkedIn where it's like they're acting like they're in an interview, and that's not real. That's not that's just made
example.
up. So they're coming up with these stories, like, you know, the LinkedIn meme is that people will write these essays of like, I bought a coffee today and here's 7 things I learned about leadership. And it's just garbage, like absolute garbage. But that's the ecosystem. That's the game where everyone is trying to appear like, just like they know everything about everything pretty much. And it's how you act in an interview. You're like you said, it's about the status, about trying to look good in front of everyone. You're trying to get the validation, and it's that like ramped up to 1 million. And that's one game where, okay, I go into LinkedIn and go, okay, I realize this is what people want, all this nonsense, and I'm not for it at all, but I will go onto the platform, I will use it, I will post on it. And I do find myself, you know, tailoring my language to meet what's expected on the platform. But I understand that that's going to help me get my name out there. It's going to help people learn more about what I do, about my business. So it's a net positive for me. So, and I'll play that game, even though I feel that everyone on the not everyone, most people on it are disingenuous, and it just, you know, it eats away at your soul just having to log in sometimes.
Yeah, it's like they don't really believe that.
Yeah, like no one believes it, but people can get caught up, like, and it can happen.
Get caught up in it, and then
And
it
anyone-
becomes the thing.
Yeah, and like it happens. But just knowing that it's a game really helps me, like, rather than just delete my account and close off like many different possibilities for, you know, improving my communication because I'm writing on there every day, or meeting people that I could actually, you know, develop a real connection with, rather than just say, no, I'm not going into that bullshit realm. It's like, I'll play the game and maybe something good might
Does that
come
make
out
it
of
easier for you?
Yeah,
It does.
because I've thought about deleting the account umpteen times.
Yeah.
Like,
Centuries over the time.
I've thought about it a lot.
I feel like a lot of your content revolves around LinkedIn, though. You'd have a lot of, like, how to use it. How to use
because
LinkedIn.
it's such a powerful tool when
Yeah.
used in the right way.
I saw the was it a video you posted today again on YouTube about the woman, when you're the woman who wrote to you and gave you a positive, and you're like, I think we should get a flat together or something. I was like, that is so bloody good.
But that's what I mean. That's what Sean Breen is bringing to the table.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut through it a bit. Like,
how do you just get these? The first time I saw yous were priests. Those videos of yous as priests, and like, where do you get the ideas from the whole time? Especially when you're that's you. Especially when you're posting 400 videos worth of content. How do you keep getting ideas?
But ideas they're infinite.
Yeah, but you need to keep some of them up somehow.
Is to try and think of them.
yeah. So what I
You
found,
can always think of ideas.
if you're focused on something, they'll just come to you spontaneously, and
Right.
they'll come to you, you know, when you're out for a walk or you're having a shower or whatever. They'll just pop into you. Don't even have. It's like ideas.
So were you thinking about getting a flat with a woman then, and you were like, ding.
Ding, 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 ding. No, but see, the masculine urge is a trending kind of meme thing.
Yeah, it's like,
so he's seen it because he's deep in this game. You know what I mean? So when he's looking at stuff now, he also sees opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
No pun intended on the deep thing as well. I didn't realise that. But there's opportunity because of the lens he's chosen to look through.
Right.
He's because he knows this works over here, this pattern works here. Then when you look at the world, then you see more opportunity, and ideas do just come to you. Every rabbit hole that I've gone down, more ideas just come to you in your sleep or whenever, because you can't stop thinking about them because they're in your head. It needs to be in your head. You need to
keep it fresh.
They need to be in your. You need, whatever you're pursuing, it needs. If it's something in your heart, you can't get away from it. It's everywhere you look. Geez, there it is again. The music. Why is that there again?
Would you consider yourselves both as? Might seem a weird question, but do you consider yourselves more creative, artistically creative, or analytical? Do you know what I mean? Would you consider yourselves more creative and artistic or more analytical? Well, it's fairly self-explanatory, I think.
It's very interesting.
It's hard. I don't know. I
Because
think it's like a kind of a mix of both. Because I get ideas spontaneously, and then other ideas like you talked about, where I'm viewing content with the lens of how can I apply this to what I'm doing.
They kind of actually feed each other in a way, because to be creative, it depends on what you mean by creative. Do you want just ideas to just randomly come to your head? I was listening to Hans Zimmer's masterclass on score and movies, just out of curiosity. I love his music. I just want to hear what he's saying.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And he was saying he'd bring music to the director, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that just took me 10 minutes or whatever, blah blah." The director didn't know. He was there sweating for 6 weeks, having panic attacks and everything, you know. But I tell him this because he doesn't want to frame it in that way, so he gets the best kind of feedback. You know what I mean? So creativity, it depends. So there's a really good quote that I like that describes the creative process of coming up with stuff. Is that the art is the evidence of the exploration, because you start, you just have to start. Where you start isn't ever where you end up. Especially when you're writing, if you're writing, you know, because you're writing blogs, and if you're doing even writing the short stories or anything like that, you just need to start. And even with creating music, you just need to start. You need to get that first line, and then what's left over is just the exploration. You know what I mean? So to be creative is just to kind of follow your curiosity down a particular line of reasoning and questioning and thinking for.
Yeah, that's everything.
Someone's pulling you in.
That's
But
just following your
you're
curiosity.
analysing as well.
You've captured it there perfectly. Just follow your
So I was
curiosity.
just thinking
Follow your
right there,
curiosity.
actually.
Yeah, like that's
I was
where you
like,
put the
that's
full
perfect.
stop. Like. What about yourself? Like,
I would like to say, I suppose when I asked that question, I was thinking more numbers and figures and things like that in terms of analytics. Like, are you more math based, or are you more sort of like? No, I mean, you've answered the question, I think, but for me, I think I would always be the creative type. I hope. I hope at this stage.
How did you get on with that short movie, actually? A short film? Short
Interesting.
movie. What would you say? Yeah, because I seen some
Short
screenshots
film.
of some lad in the back of a car.
Director Crowell.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Honestly, I think it's going to be a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Putting it lightly, like.
Yeah, and I am. No, it was a learning curve. Yeah, it was a learning curve. It was first day I turned up, and you know when you think you have it all in your head, you turn up and you do have it in your head, but now you need to put it from your head into practice. And I hadn't done this in 5 years. I'd done sort of web adverts, but you're doing it on the fly. You know, no setups. You're just catching things. This was like, we need setups. So we got a couple of shots there that I knew to myself, like, we'll get those straight away. And then I looked at the script and I was like, fuck, how do I get from there to there without moving everything all day? And there was just this moment of silence where I asked that question, but I was expecting one of the 3 people around me who were more experienced to come in with some form of an answer. And there was just this deafening silence, and I was like, this is going to be hard. So I went away, we got through the first day, I went home, and for like a week, I was like, get it perfect. Learn the setups, was watching everything about setups, watching everything about lenses, and then second day, I think we did quite well.
Deadly.
We had to take a few shortcuts, but I hope... But actually, what that's done now is it sort of kicked me into gear. I go, fuck, I love doing that. That was great. I love doing that. Let's do that again. So now I'm writing something else at home.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. What's the process of, you have this idea, you have a story, and then you want to get it filmed? How?
Well, there's not a lot of money involved. I'll say that straight away. No, there isn't. So I mean, it's sort of literally what I offer people. You go onto certain pages on Facebook, Star Now, certain other pages, and you go, right, I have a script. I can't pay you, but I'll pay for your travel. I'll pay for your dinners, your lunch, whatever it might be, and that's what I can offer you. Are you interested? And a lot of people are just looking for work, so they'll go, yeah,
to
perfect.
get in something.
Yeah. Perfect. But I'm trying to be a bit more ambitious about it. I don't want to just be like get 3 people in a room and shoot any old crap. I'm like, I literally want it to be as best as I can make it. So I'm kind of saying to other people, did you read the script? Yeah. Well, what did you think of it? I liked it. Did you like it though? Yeah. What did you like? Tell me about it. I want to hear. And it's only like, it's not because I'm like, tell me all about myself. It's not that. It's,
see what I did there.
It's I wanna actually yeah. Just take a page forward, throw that in.
Yeah.
But I want people who are genuinely interested in the script, so that when they turn up, they go, I actually want to bring the best that I can do for this, not just turn up and phone it in and say I've done a project. I want you to turn up and care almost as much as I do.
That's like a simple test. That's a good metric, or a good like heuristic, I'd call it, like a rule to have. You know, it's like if it's raining, bring an umbrella. If you're doing any sort of screen casting, definitely that's like part of it. Ask them how they did it, and then obviously that can help you judge who you're going to let into the Daniel Crowe experience.
Do you ever see the story about the story? I think it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck told about when they gave Harvey Weinstein Good Will Hunting. Did you hear this?
No.
And they said, in Hollywood, people don't read scripts. Producers don't read scripts. What they do is they give it to a reader, and the reader will read the script. But then the producer will come back and go, I loved your script, great script, right? But we knew that they didn't read them. So we, loving this script, tested them. And we put a little something extra in the script. So they said we gave it over to Harvey Weinstein. And have you seen Good Will Hunting?
Yeah.
He gave it over to Harvey Weinstein. He comes back and he goes, guys, absolutely loved your script. Absolutely brilliant, fantastic. Just one question though. What was with the orgy right in the middle of the film? They were like, that was a test. We were just seeing if you would actually read it or not. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I read it. Or I read it. And they were like, that's so you pat. And they were like, that's why we took him. Because he actually read the script. So, for like, being, right? That, for me, I wonder how elaborate they went with it as well. Like, how many pages did that add to the overall
It'd be
count?
weirder for you, imagine, because you're putting people, their characters in the orgy, and the person's reading it. It's like, what?
You want Robin Williams doing this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we pay him enough for that? But for me then, because I feel like I'm starting quite late in it, for as long as I've been involved in ways, because I'm starting late, I don't want to just go, give me a camera, let's shoot any old crap. It's like, let's give it a go. But anyway, I loved it, so I'm trying to, the two of the fellas that I worked with were like, let's keep going.
And what's the runtime on it? What are you like?
I don't know, about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
it's
so
only
like
short. It's only
film,
about 15 minutes. I hate seeing myself. Oh my god, I'm such an awful hard bastard to look at. Like, it's I sort of got, when you look at yourself, you're like,
I think you're a handsome enough lad.
I think you're just not used to seeing yourself.
You have a great shaped head.
Thanks.
Yeah, no.
You got a lovely.
This is the orgy scene now.
This is why you're.
It's a fucking lovely
No,
shape.
you have nothing to worry about.
No, it's,
seriously,
but
man.
when you're trying to do a performance,
Yeah, I understand that.
and you're
completely.
looking at yourself and you're going, oh my god.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a point. Like, I found that when I'm recording myself, I'm just like, oh, I couldn't let that go out. Like, it just
But unfortunately, I'm in all of it.
No, I think it's like, it's not the whole performance. It's just moments where you just see something and then it rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah.
But the more you see yourself acting in front of the camera, like, that will become less and less. That's what I found.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't do both again. I wouldn't do the directing and the acting in it. Now, I thought about this. I was like, how the fuck does a Ben Affleck do this? How do these lads direct and act in them with huge crews? I did it with 3 other people, And I found it so hard to focus on what's the next shot, what's the framing, the energy with the lads. You're thinking about it, and then you're also going, but how do I also now focus on my lines and a performance and all of that? And even at only a tiny level, it's really hard to do and to do it right, because even though it is kind of it's a black comedy. It would be, yeah. It'd be a black comedy.
What do you mean by black comedy?
It's not outright funny, but there's moments where you go, and that's hopefully you get more than that, but that's it. You're like, but there's moments in it where where you should be able to chuck, and I've teed those up for you. But I had two other actors who were ready to do it. One eventually wasn't able he had something else to do, and the other I kind of went, can he really do it? And I went, I know I can do it because I wrote it.
And I'm the best.
Yeah. And I'm great. No. But I know, so I thought to myself, if I'm going to do it,
it's practical as well.
You can't fuck it up, Dan. You can't say, I'll do it, lads, and then turn up with this like, oh my God, what was he thinking?
Yeah.
What was that? So I'm hoping to God that the editor just makes me look half decent.
You've done theatre and stuff though, haven't you?
Yeah, I did one play. Yeah.
And what do you want to pursue more? The directing
writing.
or the writing?
The directing I would love to do. I actually found after this I would probably be, hopefully not saying too much, I kind of feel like I'd be better at that I actually thought I was. You know, there's a lot to learn in terms of your setups. You need to know. I was actually only talking to a guy yesterday. I'd never met him before, but he wrote to me on Facebook and he was like, I'd love to meet up and have a talk of an idea that I want to go through. He'd never directed anything before. He's probably in his late 40s, I'd say. So we sat down, spoke for 2 hours, and he was asking me, what about this and what about that and what do I do and what do I need to know? And I never realised just how much information I actually had. And at the end of it I went, even if that wasn't amazing for him in terms of it, I gave something decent there. But writing I think would be the main one. Writing, because I feel, and for you have to, when you're doing Paddy Jobsman, when you are the character, you have to feel that you're bringing something different. For me, I think the one area that I can hopefully bring something different is my writing. Hopefully. Because I want you, when you're watching something that I've written, hopefully, to go, do you know what? I never thought about that. I never saw it that way. Yeah. And as a director, I don't know if I'd be good enough for that. So hopefully,
you have a kind of practice around Ryan.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not. It's we talk about showing up and being consistent the whole time. I'm not always that. You can get into periods where you're like, I don't even know what to write.
Yeah.
I can't. And it's at that period where you're like, a girl I used to work with before said to me, yeah, but you can't wait for that. She goes, you have to keep a pen and paper with you and just always be at something.
100%.
That's what Ed Sheeran said. Ed Sheeran was like, you know, I don't just write magnificent songs. He was like, you have to run the tap. You have to let the shit drain.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
And then eventually you get clean running water. So I write all the time. Well,
that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's brilliant, man.
Yeah, I write all the time to the point that it's actually like I have that much stuff on my computer that it's like looking and you're going, oh my God, that's just a load of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even know where to look. You know?
Yeah.
Where's the idea in here? I'm looking through 450 different articles and I'm going, where do I pick one?
Yeah.
You know?
But you're putting in the reps. That's the most important thing. That's
the
most important thing, no matter what.
What I'm finding though, because I'm actually pursuing the music in a different way the last while. I'm trying to get into kind of electronic music. Not in the way you might think, but just the process of sound synthesis, like sound design, everything in music production. Because if the instrument relies on me having to be able to play the instrument in a particular way, but if you're doing it on a computer, you could basically have it play a chord or a note whenever you want, perfectly every time. You know what I mean? And so I think it will allow me to express myself musically in a way that is more infinite than what. Now I'm still obviously going to pursue that, but in doing that, what I'm finding is, okay, you start with like a loop, a little progression. You know what I mean? You have a little drum bit going, and then you get other things like so it's like, and it has all that going at the same time.
I'll do the where.
Let's acapella this.
Yeah.
Yeah, harmonies. That's harmony is just two notes playing at the same time. But I won't get too into that, right? What I'm gonna say is that, okay, so you have the loop, but now, like, your little ideas, now you have to take them to the next level. You have to try and finish something as well, and that's the bit that I haven't done yet. You know what I mean? I'm kind of doing loads of stuff around it. I'm like, oh, I need to understand chords. I need to understand this bit more. But I haven't decided now, and also I don't have enough time as well. Actually, I'm like at the limit of my time.
Yeah, like you're in the building phase.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have it all figured out.
Exactly. And I'm doing it. I'm really going deep into this. In ways that like it'll be just boring. But the point is that you need to focus on each part of it. So the idea, the rhyme part. Just to practice a rhyme, like Eminem, always rhyme. Not just to that's like your little
going to the
gym, whatever.
Showing
but then, then a more fleshed out a scene. A scene would be the next thing. That's like doing a few sets. So you have a rep. Rep is rhyme. Set is a scene, and then your full workout is but you can break
the
it up into
masterpiece that will be released in 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, one thing I'm trying to
3 weeks is it?
I'm trying to do in my head.
4.
Yeah, it's to try.
But a masterpiece is coming out.
So musically, right? Break it down into the simplest form. There's melody. Melody is just blah 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 blah. Then you have that, right? Think of melodies. They're like little ideas. They're like your little reps, right? Then, if you want to take them melodies further, you add chords. So you flesh out that melody into chords. That's the next step. Then you make a little 8-bar loop with some drums and then add some sounds onto that. Then you actually, from what I could see, I've watched like Deadmau5's Masterclass. I've watched like Timbaland. His name isn't Timberland. Actually, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah. But they just it's all about having a loop, and then it's just because you have your loop, which is like your full chorus, imagine, and then you copy and paste it, and then you take bits out, bring bits in, all this kind of stuff, this ear candy to kind of transition to different places. In theory, it looks grand, but it just seems like I haven't crossed that bridge yet. But they're the little blocks for me that I need to be doing. So, from what I can see, what you're saying, you need to have like the funnel. Different things are in different stages of development. You know what I mean? And so you can jump in and practice, each part of it. You know what I mean? Not just the writing of an idea of some lad. Apparently, actually, there's really good master classes. We'll talk about this afterwards. On screenwriting and stuff. I don't know if you've seen this masterclass thing. They basically
depends which ones. I've watched a couple.
They've done. They're like these. There's this website masterclass.com, and they basically get these like high level professionals to talk about their craft or whatever. Blah blah. It's just a really good insight. It's not like going to college or anything, but it's just you get a good few hours of just standing behind someone going. That's deadly.
Getting lectured by Hans Zimmer. That just sounds cool.
But I was watching, it was like 2 days ago, I was watching Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. I was watching his talking about his process, and he basically puts every idea, he just has one sheet, that's it. He just pins it to a board and he goes, 1 A4 page. He goes, that whole sheet is Taxi Driver. That's every idea for Taxi Driver on one page. I'm like, how do you do that? And that's how he combats. How am I for sound? That's how he combats writer's block. He was asked, how do you overcome writer's block?
You got it.
And he said, because literally when you have an outline, I have an idea. Page 1. Here's my idea. How long do I expect the first part of page 1 to be, or the opening? A page. So I write down a page. What was it actually? 1.5 pages. And he writes down each idea as he has it. So that once he has it all on the paper, on the one sheet, now he'll start writing the script. But that could take him weeks. It could take him months to fill that one page. But then once he has, now we'll start writing the script. So it doesn't work for everybody, but that's how he did it. And he said that this is the cost of that. He said, my brother died and I felt that very, very strongly. And he said the relationship I had with my brother was really strong. I wanted to write something about it. But what happened was, following this process, the emotion came, it went, and now I didn't feel like I had it in me to write that script. So he goes, that's on a shelf, and I'm just waiting for a day when the idea comes back to me again, the emotion. So you know, there's different ways you can do everything. You know, there's different ways you can do everything.
What sort of, because I'm just so naive about the whole process of writing. I know we've come up with ideas, but they kind of it just sort of happens. You know, we start with an initial thing, like St. Patrick, like maybe Paddy Josman is St. Patrick. That was kind of that's the basic premise that we worked from, you know what I mean? And then work from there. But this idea, like for fleshing out a whole movie or a longer piece, ideas. What kind of ideas do you think you'd be putting on? As in,
well, like themes help. What's the theme of your film? What's the like the kernel that you are of emotion that you have that's writing this, yeah? And then you can break it down. You've inciting incidents, plot 1 and 2, your hook and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's what does your character want, and how many things can you put in his way to stop him getting it. That's ultimately what the film is, you know. So at the end of, say, plot 1, you know, say 25 minutes into a film, you've got, what do we know about him? He wants to be, a superhero. 10 minutes in, the opportunity kind of presents itself. That's your inciting incident. Kind of presents itself. And he denies it until the end of Act 1, when he's like, I'm going to do it. And then all of Act 2 is basically him learning and getting accustomed to being the superhero. Into Act 3, he's got some new problem to solve. So it's when you break it down, you take it piece by piece. Theoretically, it's easier to do, but I fucking always struggle to try and write a feature script. I've always thought to myself, like, I've got the idea that could be a feature. I'm actually writing one now. I was doing it today as well. I was like, this could be a feature idea. It's fucking very hard to get to the end of that, though. You're like midway in, you're like, oh my god,
it's like a book.
How long is a feature? Like just a regular film?
Typically, if you want your feature to be about 90 minutes.
Yeah. So it's
90 minutes. As a page a minute is typically the rule. A page a minute.
That's definitely something to be tipping away at. But I do think the smaller increments would be.
No, I was just going to say it's a fucking great goal to be moving towards, like a feature film.
Get a feature.
Yeah.
I've got one in my mind. I'm like, if that ever worked, that could be great.
Yeah.
If I ever get to the end of it, that could be great.
When you get to the end of it.
Yeah, you're very like that, I find.
Yeah.
Like, he is. I don't mean that, like, you did that at the end of the last episode that we did. You had one criticism and you were like, you don't do that. You don't talk negative about it.
Yeah.
You don't talk negative about that. I'm like,
because
that's what you believe about. Like, that's the subconscious coming out in you, that there's a part of you that thinks maybe this might not happen. Like, so the self-talk, you know,
you're basically setting yourself up. It's okay to fail.
Yeah. So if you can rewire that, well then, you know, the only thing, no matter what, is you're going to move closer towards it, rather than the opposite. If you're telling yourself that, you know, if this ever happened, it's just like that can only, you know, you're leaving it to chance. But you could, I just try and think, it's like you could take control of it.
It's not like you're in a different country and you're dreaming of going to America, but you can't get a visa. That's something that's like, well, maybe you could still pursue that.
Yeah, but it's
you can't go to the moon, right? None of us are going. Well, maybe we're not going to Mars.
Yeah,
all right.
But the self-talk is very important, and it's not. It's like a very realistic goal to have, because so many other people have done it. Like,
what's a realistic goal? To
have
write a feature?
To write a feature, to be a director.
Yeah.
It's like if you're
100% realistic.
Oh no, I know that.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not like an impossible goal to have.
What do you
all.
do on a bad day? I'm going to move on from that actually, maybe.
Yeah.
But what do you do on a bad day? When you have a bad day?
No one wants to know. But you can't expect every day to be a good day, first of all.
Yeah.
So when the bad days come, like, just know that, all right, I won't be able to be as productive as I was maybe yesterday, or I might not feel as good about what I'm doing as I was yesterday. But just give what you can that day. If that's 60%, give 60%. And that's all you can do, because it's like a wave, I find, like productivity or just generally how good you feel about yourself.
But do you ever feel that this is a point, like you were saying with the stag and stuff like that, a break away from this was great? Do you ever get a period then where you go, I'm just going to leave that down for a little while, like a week? I'm going to leave that down. Maybe this is me telling myself that you need to just walk away for a week. Or do you go, no, I'm still going to do 60%?
I've definitely done that. The difference with what I'm doing, I've definitely like just packed it in at like, there's been days where at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's just like, my brain's not working. I'm better off just like resting. But there's a different kind of pressure on me because I'm self-employed. So it's like, if I don't show up, it's just like, things might fall asunder. Bills need to get paid. And so it's like that. But I do agree, taking time away like that. We went away for 5 days on that stag. I came back with just like mountains of ideas. Like, and I didn't really think at all about, I had videos pre-recorded, so I
saw that.
Post a couple, but then, I was like, right, it got to, I think, the Saturday, I was like, I'm done. I'm just going to leave it. And the 3 or 4 days break was brilliant. Like, I hadn't taken that long of a break since probably before Christmas. So it's definitely a good idea to rest and come back.
It helps us think about what you're doing in a different way when you come back to it. Like for me, I was getting a weekly podcast episode, and then I had this idea of, and I am going to be pursuing the podcast hopefully in a weekly fashion, but if it's 2 weeks, if it's whatever, I'm not thinking it has to be, nothing has to happen, right? And then with the music, I'm like, it doesn't matter if I don't post on a certain day, because I'm actually more interested in the stuff that I'm just doing that's not public at the moment, you know what I mean? So you can't pursue like everything as fully as you want, but you just have to kind of follow what's in here a bit, and it kind of helped me recalibrate anyway when I realised, geez, I haven't posted anything in a while. Actually, it's great. Like, I wasn't checking things, you know what I mean? And it was just nice. And I'm still checking like every now and again the whole thing. Actually, this was a funny one, because just coming back to the self-criticism and the self-disbelief, I was setting up my email account for basilbreen.com, and I was like I'm just going to set it up, you know what I mean, just because, so I can send out emails to radio stations and it'll look more legit, whatever. But but I remember saying to Sean, I was like, who's going to email me anyway? It's like why are you saying that? Who knows who might email you, right? And so I didn't check my email for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I got an email from this woman who works at some tech firm, and she was offering basically like 10 days of work over 10 weeks to do like a 2-hour slot each time and get like 300 quid. You know what I mean? But for me,
so it would have been like $3,000.
It would have been unreal. Yeah. It would have been unreal. And I didn't check it. And I had it because I had an email set up. She was able to email me, and email is more sort of conducive to the business realm, you know what I mean? Because they need to verify it with this and HR and all this crap. But it's just so funny, because I was like, what's the point of this? And just because I did it, because I actually set it up, look at what happened. There was opportunity there. Yeah. So the more you do, the more can come about in a way. I don't know how I got to that point, but I got to it.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Tell me, you all right? Yeah.
Hanging in there,
yeah. I can see.
It's been a long week.
Proclamation. Tell me about this one, right? Because I know when people go, your song was really good, I loved your song. I actually did. That was brilliant. And I listened to that a couple of times, right?
Ah, that's who it was.
That was me. I was your
Hey, I'll
single
take
spike.
it, yeah.
That one little
I'm
spike, right?
delighted.
How'd you write it? How long did it take? And also, how, for both of yous, it's probably two separate questions, but actually, how into Irish history are you? Just in a quick one. How into Irish history are you?
I'm more into it than I was when I was, up until when I was living in London, and I was hearing people talk about Ireland with all this regard and all the places they've been, and I've been anywhere. And so when I got back, I was like, I'm going to see Ireland. And in fairness, I have travelled a good bit now around Ireland and got more into the history. But that was kind of the instigator. I was like, when I get home, I'm going to start getting into it. So, I've listened to a lot of the Irish history podcasts. I won't be able to tell you, little grids of information, but I have a general sort of idea of what happened. Do you know what I mean?
What about you?
It just hasn't come up. Like,
Sounds all about World War II.
I honestly, I could have sworn that the two of you were like, I'm all about that life.
And my dad was, though.
My dad was, yeah.
I don't know. There's something that's. I don't know. There's something that feels
It's
very
the
Irish
complexion.
about the two of you.
You know what I mean?
There's something that feels very Irish.
The near ginger hair.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. But it's the humor and stuff like that. I don't know why. Like those videos of you as priests, the comedy stuff.
Oh, the How's Your Father crack.
Yeah. And I was like, instantly I saw those and I was like, well, if they're taking the piss out of, religion in Ireland and stuff, I was like, they maybe potentially they have a deep interest in Irish history. I don't know. But that's what I was asking.
I do now, but it wasn't always there. In a way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's deep. Like it is interesting, but I wouldn't be pursuing it. Like, but I think that dressing up as priests and doing like a priest talk show was kind of based on Father Ted. Like a lot of it was.
Right.
And just religion's such an easy out for comedy in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's a very, the whole spectacle of it, it's very look at that, you can just do it in this way, make fun of it this way. Well, it was basically just like Father Ted, but I think it was more that we could do it because we could buy the suits. You know what I mean? I think when we started off, it was more, how do we get started with this with a green screen and not really do it ourselves? I mean, not like kind of hide behind stuff as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the gimmick of the priesthood and stuff like that. We didn't. It was just the first thing that got us going, really.
Yeah. I thought that was mad when I saw it.
But I wasn't very scared of one of my uncles in particular.
You were or you weren't?
No, I was.
You were.
Still am.
I remember I just remember the conversation I had with him about Father Ted, and this I love and admire this uncle with all my heart. And I remember him just saying that he didn't like Father Ted because they took the piss out of priests. And he's real kind of matter of fact serious, and he just couldn't ever get into it because of that. And that was like years ago, you know what I mean? That was just an off kind of conversation that I remembered. And then I remember I did that, and then anyway, I don't want to get too into that part, but I was worried that oh no,
he would see it,
because there isn't a word like I talked about this before, but like it's a terrible thing that we have like no parents at this point in our lives, but there's definitely has to be a freedom associated with that, because I don't have to do anything. I don't feel pressure to do fuck all. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, like,
you see, not
I'm not worried about what I say. I'm dressing up as priests. Imagine my dad probably find it funny.
He would have found it very funny.
Yeah. He would have fucking loved everything that I'm doing now, and our relationship wasn't as good as it could have been, and with the music and everything. Especially with the music. I remember when I passed my driving test, and I was so happy I passed it because I couldn't believe it. I was like, I haven't been to the graveyard in such a long time, and I went out to the graveyard, and this is, I've been, I released music. This was only last February, so, I was on the road. I actually hadn't even released my first song, but I was standing there, and I was like, he's actually the only person that would understand what I'm doing to such a level. Like, he would really get into the nitty gritty of the work, because he loved music, you know what I mean? That's where I learned to love music, from him. And I was just bawling. I was like, this is just, it's so shit, you know what I mean? It's terrible.
You think about him every day, do you? Both your parents. Yeah.
More so because I was quite a lot younger when my ma passed. Like I was 10, so yeah, my father would have had more of an influence.
Yeah, my
It
mum
sticks,
was
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sticks. You see, my dad died when I was 13.
Right.
And it comes, like, I moved away from Limerick when I was 5. And you sort of see him periodically throughout that time. And for a long time, he's there, like, in everything, for, like, years and years. But then gradually it comes to a point I found where, you know, a couple of days go by and you go, jeez, I haven't fucking thought about him in a few days.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I was wondering, but yours is probably a bit more recent. Your dad's passing is probably a bit more recent than mine.
It's actually 10 years.
Is it 10 years?
Yeah. Recent.
This year was the 10-year
This year.
anniversary.
So I know it probably is still very fresh in your
yeah.
head. But I also think that freedom I was asking you about earlier on, where do you get that sort of, that ability to strip away bullshit and just deal with straight facts, stuff that matters? I didn't want to come out and ask it straight away, but not having parents around has to contribute to that a little bit,
100%.
because it does for me.
Yeah.
It does for me. The stripping away the bullshit, I would say that my dad's passing and thinking about what would he think, what would he do, it strips away a lot of crap. So that's why I didn't want to ask you directly earlier on, but did think about that.
We probably got blessed with a combination. Well, blessed might be a strange word, but because like our father was, like saying that, was so upfront and honest with us about everything.
Everything.
Like,
you know what I mean?
From kids.
Yeah,
Kids,
like
how he was feeling after.
like how he went in depth about like how he felt about everyone and everything about us, like, and it was just, you know, true pure love, like, and just being open. So we would have learned a lot about how to just be open and honest with other people as well. And then the fact that, like you said, if you've no parent to think about or worry what they're going to think about you, you can just kind of say whatever you want, and there's no consequence. So, like what we come back about, there's no fear about worrying about what you're going to say or what you're going to do.
There's also a horrible reality that, you know, everyone's parents are going to die, and some people are dealing with a situation where their parents are getting older now, and that's only going to accelerate and get worse as time goes on. And that fear of, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this when they need help? It's like, because adults basically, we start as babies and we kind of go back to babies where we need that help, whatever, you know what I mean, eventually. And that would kill me. I know it would, you know what I mean? Not saying that there's loads of other stuff that kills me, not having my dad here as well, because I'll never be able to kind of fully reconcile some of the issues that we had, you know what I mean? And I'll never, that's just like my opportunity to do that is gone. That's why I'm saying people should do the podcast with their parents now, or say the thing that's even weird. Maybe it sounds weird, you know, maybe it's like I don't know what it is, but I feel that you never like this to me or never that to me, because we're afraid to be vulnerable. But if you don't be vulnerable, the opportunity is going to pass, and then it's over. Then you lost. Game over. Like.
I actually saw that in the documentary I watched recently, and it was a woman who was not studying. She was a photographer, and she was a photographer for 25 years. She was a photographer through the 90s, early 2000s, and she basically was speaking about the excesses through photographs that she has seen through the years, and the addiction to beauty, the addiction to money, the addiction to fame and success, all through her photographs. And her son said to her, he was only like a teenager, he was like, but you are one of those people. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, but you are, camera's on him. He's like, you're one of those people. You live for your photography. You live through your photography. And she sat down, she had an interview with her mother, and her mother featured a few times throughout the documentary. And then right at the very end, she asked her mother a question about her as a child and her mother's relationship with her. And her mother was completely put on the spot. She was like, I wasn't expecting that question. But then there was like a couple of minutes of genuine openness between them. And they hugged. And I just think about what you're saying there, and I go, there probably is something to it that creates that environment of, let's talk about it here.
100%.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because whatever situation you're with anybody in your life, sometimes things just form, and these invisible walls and castles and barricades exist in different parts of different areas of your relationship that you're not even aware of. And it's so normal that when you're in it, we all have these relationships with people that they're not even for good or bad. They are what they are because of just time and inertia carrying them forward through time, and they can prevent us from ever kind of venturing off. There's a really good example from Jordan Peterson, of course, and his owl lad. Basically, his wife was making him dinner for 60, 50 years or whatever, and he was eating every day off the same plate, off the same thing, whatever. And then one day he was just fed up. He goes, "Oh, you always put it on the small plate." And they always put it on the small plate, and it was like he said it dead because he was obviously just ticked off, but he had never said anything before. And it's a trivial example because why you don't want to cause that much thing, but the fact that he just didn't say, "Oh, can I just get a bigger plate?"
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a trivial, tiny little example. What are we not saying to people? Like, I'm not even perfect in this regard. Do you know what I mean? There's people that I can't think off the top of my head, and I won't say it anyway. Tune in next time to keep people coming back. You know what I mean?
To watch TK's breakdown.
Yeah. Every week just gets progressively
His
worse.
name's Basil.
Until
Oh yeah.
Welcome back to the
Basil's
podcast.
breakdown.
Live from Port Rand. Hold on till I just get. But just put some cream on it myself. But the fact is that we're beholden to the structures that exist only because they do, and you need to try and it's hard to actually transcend. Like my uncles, for example, I've tried to tell them that I loved them. Like I have told them.
He did.
I did. I'm counting.
He said he was
there
going
for the outfall.
He said he was going to do it, and he did it.
I was like, I have to do it.
And I was like,
but
fair play.
I want to do it. I want to do it in a deeper way. You know what I
Right.
mean? In a way like where I look them in the eye, and it's more. And I've done it as best I can. But the older generations, it's harder to kind of break through and be emotional. I want to hug. I want to hold my uncle and say, I'm so happy that you were in my life, and I love you, and I hope you know that. And like, if I imagine they die and I never got that moment, how am I going to feel? Like, what are these are like? I know what it's like to be haunted by things that you can't actually do anything about. You know what I mean? And that's when I'm telling people to kind of pursue this with people that they love and people in their life. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from experience and pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just really uncomfortable to do. Like, that's what it comes
It's so
down
uncomfortable to do.
to talk about the
But
things
you're
you
gonna
don't want to
die.
talk
We're
about.
all gonna die. And
Yeah.
even that doesn't make it easy.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But you kind of go forward with it. How we do just a couple more minutes, and then
Yeah, we're on.
We'll let Sean off the
127.
bed.
Yeah, it does.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I tell you what. Well, we'll forget all that then, right? Just very quickly. Proclamation. How long did it take to do?
Didn't take that long, actually. No, it takes
The
long.
whole process.
I know it doesn't just happen in 10 minutes.
Not the whole
But-
Like
process.
from when he put the pen on the paper, like.
It started when I was in London.
Pull up a seal, let me tell you a story.
The one thing about that song that was really nice was that I had all this material to write about. So I was looking at Wikipedia, I was looking at how many people were there that day, what street they were on, who, like O'Connell Street, like the Patrick Pearse,
Analytical.
to hear the proclamation, and the Liffey shells, and like the words were flown on paper bones. That was basically the handing out the proclamation on pieces of paper, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there was all this imagery. And the words in that document are so beautiful and fantastic.
I thought that as well.
I tried to capture. I basically, like, it starts off Irish men and Irish women. Irish men and women, we summon for. I was trying to basically, how could I capture the essence of this document and put it into a song? And that's what I did. And I remember where I was when I realised I needed to make a song. It was just across the road. And I came to that chorus. There's the it just came, you know what I mean? It just comes to you, you know what I mean? Sometimes you think, if I say,
So what happens when you're
what
constantly
happens
working?
when it's rain outside, you think, like, That's what comes to me now at this moment when I think of rain
Oh,
outside.
right.
But when I think of the
like, what
proclamation, when I think Dan Crow, I'm like 6 bombs, 6 bombs. You know what I mean?
I have a very funny story. But I was up in my room and listening to him play Proclamation, probably one of the first times, and I was listening to the lyrics. I was like, who sings that? Because it felt like it was one of them old school Irish
100%.
folk tunes. And I was like,
100%.
and I was like trying to Google the lyrics, and I was like, what? It's like, is this his song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
what I
how
thought.
well written it
Like
was.
it was.
Is.
I listened to it and I went, that is like a notable progression. And I'm not saying that the stuff was, but like you can, the other stuff you can go, that was really good. But then you listen to this and you go, Jesus Christ, like you really upped your game on that one. I thought it was fantastic. And then as soon as we get into that, you're like, I'm looking at electronic music now. Like, but why, man? You're only hitting your peak.
No, I'm hitting it all. I'm doing it all. Don't worry.
Right,
He's a
don't
Renaissance
lose the
man.
guitar.
It's just that it's more that how do I want to become like self-sufficient in all these domains, but no, I'm really proud of that one just because I love the Irish music. I love all the music that's brought us here, like that Christy Moore keeps bringing forward, that Dubliners, like, and I was like, that's my contribution to like Irish music in a way. You know what I mean? I have another one. I have another kind of one of the typical kind of story ones about this woman called Violet Gibson. It's not as good. It's more funny, but it's more in the realm of like Black Velvet, like her eyes they shine like diamonds. That's not the song, but that's Black Velvet Band, and it kind of has that Irish kind of 4-verse kind of. It's not something that I'd write normally, you know what I mean? But it's just one of them. It's historical reasons that I want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it captures the essence of the Irish music.
It's just about trying to get
really
that.
does.
You need to just, instead of waiting for the motivation, any time that I've really stuck by, I'm gonna write every day. Stuff just comes out. Stuff comes out that's like, Jesus, now I have a new fucking song.
That's what goes back
You know
to the
what I mean?
notebook and pen.
Exactly. You need to
going,
keep doing it, and
you.
I've been neglected. I've been reworking some older songs, but I need to get back in the writing room.
Can we close this out then with you singing a song?
Yeah, we can.
Give him the guitar there.
Go on, the fuck.
What? Alright, give me. Come here.
If there's, you know,
I'm totally not prepared.
I was thinking this earlier on. I was like, if we could finish this out with a song, you know, why not?
why not? It's a Basil Breen boombox.
Proclamation.
I'll do Proclamation if you want.
Are you taking requests? Would you do Proclamation?
I would if he's want to hear it. I'd be glad.
I mean, I would only love to hear Proclamation.
Yeah. I'd be glad.
What do you think?
Let's do it.
Unless you're coming in with like the fog or something like that. Like, can you do
it has to be Proclamation.
You do the fog.
Alright, well look, he's gonna have to indulge me, I'm afraid.
You take 5 minutes to like tune the thing now.
Hand us that capo shot, will you? Any of them will do.
Brilliant song, this.
I'm really not prepared.
It's just like
Yaz flew.
Yeah. Alright, let me just
There you go.
let me just sing that song that we were just talking about there. Let me try to get insane with the guitar. Jesus, I'm gonna look back at this. That's Sex Bombs.
Yeah.
6 bombs. Hold on, I need to make sure it's the right key.
Yeah, we can start doing that.
Oh, Dan and Sean, we didn't get it on for the tree song. Maybe next time, with a few sips of wine, we might. Alright, what's going on?
We don't know.
Let's get homoerotic. You can tell I need to go do some journaling. Alright, where am I? I think this is the key. I have a nice guitar now. On Easter morn they came in swarms throughout the stolen city, 1,200 strong at crack of dawn, outnumbered without pity, with many fears but never tears, stood O'Connell Street awaiting to lend its ears to Patrick Pearse to hear the proclamation. Here we go, Irish men and women, we summon for the cause, for an island and tradition the dead did give to us. For the Irish we have written our rights and liberties, and will sacrifice her living for prosperity. Oh, hold on. Gotta put in my password to make sure.
Oh, God.
What?
This is the stuff you have to deal with when you're producing a podcast and you're also singing and performing.
Go on. Let's get back to
The words were flown on paper boats throughout the stolen city. The flags were grown from GPO where Ireland rose from pity. The brave rebel with smoke and smell, that was the proclamation. Then straight from hell, the Liffey shell to test against creation. Irish men and women, we summon for the cause, for an island and tradition the dead did give to us. For the Irish we have written our rights and liberties, and will sacrifice her living for prosperity. And will sacrifice her living for prosperity. That sweet bridge. Oh, let them know in Ireland gold she was not forsaken. Yeah, let them know we gave our all, not with hesitation, but with pride and promise in a land's equality, with a pride and promise for all to be. Children of a nation, children of elation, children of an Irish liberty. Woo! Hold on, one more!
Let's go now.
Irish men and women, we summon for the cause, for an island and tradition the dead did give to us. For the Irish we have written our rights and liberties, and will sacrifice her living for prosperity. And will sacrifice her living for her prosperity. Up the lads! We're joining the IRA in the morning! Come on, you lads! Woo! Thank you very much
Super
for
stuff.
indulging me.
Super stuff.
Also, I just want to say that it does sound like a very nationalistic song, and you can say that, and you can say we're promoting far right, you can say what you want, right? But if you read the document, it's actually a very inclusive document. It talks about the people of the land of Ireland. So basically anyone on the land is included in that document. So it's one of the best documents ever written. So go and fucking read it, right?
Alright.
Anyway,
We're out.
we're out. Thank you very much.
Well done. Well done.
Oh.